Ladies and gentlemen, we are now less than 1 week away from opening day at Yankee Stadium, and we've got a lot to talk about tonight on this episode. 8 bold yet realistic predictions for the Yankees in 2023. We'll talk about who's getting traded, who I think might have a monster season, and whether or not our rookies might have any hardware coming their way. It's the annual season prediction spectacular here on NYY Recaps. Welcome.
Just when they thought I was out, they pull me back in.
How's it going, everybody? We are 1 week away from opening day, and as Mel Allen, longtime Yankees announcer and host of This Week in Baseball, would say, how about that? So, if you caught my Yankees prediction show this afternoon on the Bleacher Report app, first of all, thank you. But second of all, you are in luck because you get to hear all of my predictions all over again. I'll talk about who I think is going to be traded, why I think Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge are going to have just humongous years, and why I'm so excited about our young talent. We've got a lot of young guys coming up for the first time in a while, and it's a ton of excitement building around this team. Everybody's looking forward to Volpe. Everybody's looking forward to Peraza. We got the Martian in the not-too-distant horizon. It really could be a very fun year. But before we get started with the predictions, I want to just kind of introduce the podcast. It's kind of the beginning of a new season, just a week left till opening day. So if you're new here, we do a post-game show after every Yankees game pretty much. Don't always do the West Coast, but with the games getting shorter, maybe this year, we'll see. I think it's the most watched post-game show of any YouTube channel that covers a Major League Baseball team. It's a ton of fun. We try and keep it lively. We try and keep it positive. We support our team through thick and thin on this channel. Now, we will rip them when the time comes. You know, if someone is, dogging it down the first baseline, we will call them out. If the manager makes a bad call, we will call him out. If Cashman has a blunder of a trade, we will call him out. But for the most part, we are positive on this channel, and it's an environment where we'd like the audience to be positive as well. This year, we're introducing a few new things. We're going to have a cinematic show that comes out weekly and just kind of covers the games in a more dramatic way, mixes in some coverage from some of the other content creators. And then at the end of the year, hopefully we'll, combine them all and have one big mega documentary about the 2023 season, which hopefully ends with a parade down the Canyon of Heroes.
Absolutely, hey.
There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, there's going to be times when you don't think this team can beat anybody, and there's going to be times where they look unstoppable, just like there are pretty much every year, except maybe 2021. That team looked pretty bad all year. They were pretty bad all year. But before we get to the predictions, I want to say post your predictions in the chat and also post whether or not you agree with my predictions as we go along, and I'll put your responses on the screen. We're just going to have highlights up while we talk about everybody. So, the first one, we're going to talk about somebody who I think is going to be traded, and there's just going to be highlights of that player, and then I'll put your comments on the screen, and we'll just try and include everybody. But I look forward to hearing your thoughts, and without further delay, let's go to my 2023 predictions. Prediction number 1. Gleyber Torres is traded by July 31st. Seems like Gleyber Torres has been around forever, but he's only 26 years old. He made his debut in 2018 at just 21 years old. He's had some ups and downs. He had a huge 2019, largely built off of his total destruction of the Baltimore Orioles. He just crushed the Orioles that year. He hit 38 home runs on the season, but 13 of them were against the Baltimore Orioles. Also hit 394 against the O's that season. But these days, the Yankees have a bit of a logjam, and frankly, Gleyber Torres is probably their best trade piece. Even if Anthony Volpe and Oswald Peraza don't both make the opening day roster, Yankees principal owner Hal Steinbrenner has already spoken about his vision for the team's future, and it appears that Torres may not be part of those plans. He said, and this is a direct quote, that Volpe and Peraza are, quote, the future of the middle infield. Secondly, the Yankees do need to clear some salary to avoid going over the highest luxury tax threshold. Torres makes $9.95 million, which is not a bad salary for his skill set. However, if the Yankees are going to make any kind of significant moves this season, they're going to need to free up some space. They also are far from a complete team. They need outfield depth. They need starting pitching depth. Another arm or two for the bullpen never hurts. After somewhat of a bounce-back season in 2022, this is the perfect time for the Yankees to deal him if they don't plan on re-signing him. He complained that he didn't have an extension yet, and then the Yankees and he were kind of at loggerheads over the final, I think it was $300,000 in his arbitration negotiations. So things might be a little bit contentious between the Yankees and Gleyber Torres right now. And while it might be tough for some fans to see Torres go, it could be the right move for roster flexibility. And I think if it doesn't happen before the end of spring training, it'll probably happen whenever the Yankees are ready to go with that middle infield of Volpe and Peraza, which could be at the trade deadline, could be sooner. All right, prediction number 2. Giancarlo Stanton is going to hit 40 home runs for the first time as a Yankee. So when the Yankees traded for Giancarlo, he was at his peak. 59 home runs, reigning MVP. He was just 27 years old. I think a lot of fans looked at it as possibly the biggest and best move since the Yankees traded for Alex Rodriguez in 2004. But to expect that kind of production year in and year out was a little bit of a reach, and there was a lot of pressure on Giancarlo. His numbers haven't been bad at all. Far from it. He's hit 30-plus home runs 3 times. He's been their best postseason hitter without question. And last year, he made the All-Star team for the first time since the trade. He was actually the MVP of the All-Star game. But the injuries have been a big problem for Giancarlo. Specifically, I think his legs are starting to go. He can't run anymore. If you look at the metrics, his speed is abysmal. He's one of the slowest guys in Major League Baseball. And you really can't play him in the outfield on any kind of extended streak because he's going to break. I think something clicked into place last year at the end of the year, though. Aaron Boone mentioned that he wasn't 100% in the past, and he had a tough time performing or even taking the field when he's not 100%. But last year, towards the end of the season, he was learning to kind of hit when he wasn't at his best physically. Now, you remember, he came back, and he was awful when he first came back, but right at the very tail end of the season, he really started to get it going. Hit a couple of home runs in that Texas series, had a couple of home runs in the postseason. And look, I've talked to a couple of coaches and a couple of people around the team, and the general expectation is that Giancarlo is about to have his best year with the Yankees. He seems relaxed, he seems healthy, he's more flexible than ever before. He's still raking in spring training. He's hit a number of balls over 115 miles per hour off the bat. That's kind of his trademark. He hits the ball harder than anybody. He's kind of eased up on the weightlifting over the last couple of seasons, and there's reason to believe that he's going to be able to stay on the field a lot more this year and be able to play and perform, at least hit, when he's not at 100%. I'm predicting 40-plus home runs from Stanton, and I don't mean 41 or 42. I'm thinking more like 46 or 47 from the big man. Let me know in the comments what you think he's going to end up with. Prediction number 3 is about my favorite Martian. I think Jason Dominguez is going to make his Major League debut this year. In the world of sports, look, there's a phenomenon known as the natural talent, right? There's the Robert Redford movie with that title. In the movie The Scout, the main character, played by Albert Brooks, refers to this mythological being as Kong. The concept of the natural, though, is an athlete that seems to have been born to play the game. Tom Brady, Michael Jordan, Arthur Ashe, Mike Tyson. The natural is said to possess an innate ability to pick up new concepts and techniques at a fast rate, and their skills develop effortlessly. I shouldn't say effortlessly. A lot of hard work goes into it, but they develop quickly, and they make the game look effortless. They have a slow heartbeat. These people are typically clutch. They're unfazed by the big moment. And I believe Jason Dominguez is one of those players. I've been watching baseball, specifically Yankees baseball, for about 35 years now. And I've never seen anyone develop at the rate that Jason Dominguez has. Now, people have moved through the minor leagues faster, but people generally don't develop the advanced skills that he's got, with the strike zone, hitting from both sides of the plate, and go from essentially playing on the backfields and not having any kind of organized games to being essentially one of the best players in Major League spring training with the Yankees in just a couple of years. And when you talk to scouts or people around the team, they don't say things like, oh yeah, this guy's going to be good, or yeah, this guy had a good spring. They say, whoa, this guy's going to be incredible. I envision the best case scenario, which is that he has a dominating start to the first couple of months in the minor leagues, AA, AAA, and then the calls from the fan base to get him to the major leagues are going to be too loud to ignore. He's fast, he's strong, he hits for contact, he's got a great arm, mastery of the strike zone, switch hitter with power. If you look at his home runs this spring, there was no doubt about them. They were no doubters. He's got light tower power, and he's only going to get better. He's a natural. And I think the Yankees are going to make him their starting left fielder by the time the postseason begins. That's my out there prediction. Prediction number 4. The Yankees will have 2 of the top 3 finalists in this year's Rookie of the Year voting, including Anthony Volpe, who I think will be the Rookie of the Year. Look, Oswald Peraza and Anthony Volpe both look like the real deal to me. The Yankees are going to have to give these guys opportunities because they're cost effective. I mean, you look at WAR value. They can both give you a really good return on your investment because they're basically making the league minimum. And it kind of balances out some of the money that you're spending to get absolutely nothing from Hicks or Donaldson or IKF. I think Hicks, Donaldson, and IKF make a combined roughly $37 million this year. And we know already that those guys are not going to cut it. Do we really expect them to get better? I don't. Volpe, to me, looks like a young Jeter. I mean, I know that Jeter's a once-in-a-lifetime talent, and I'm not just saying that because he's a shortstop trying to win a job in camp just the way that Jeter did, but also the way he goes about his business, the way the older players on the team already like him and respect him. You can tell that it's not about what cleats he's wearing, like Clint Frazier, or about some flashy home run poses, or trying to get an Under Armour deal. You can tell that with Volpe, it's about winning baseball and making the team and, being a Yankee. And that's a tremendous match for what this organization values and what they need desperately. A tough, hard-nosed, Lenny Dykstra type, without the multiple criminal offenses. I've heard some scouts and analysts compare him to Alex Bregman, and I can see that. Same body type, but I think Volpe is faster than Bregman was. I don't know if he has the power that Bregman had, but I think he's faster. Peraza, on the other hand, had his defense compared to Carlos Correa by none other than Garrett Cole. And Garrett Cole would know he pitched in front of Carlos Correa. But I suppose when IKF is your shortstop for a full season and he boots 2 or 3 balls every time you're out there, I guess everybody looks like Carlos Correa. But for real, Oswald Peraza is an excellent, excellent defensive player. I think he's going to hit. I agree with Paul O'Neill that he's got 20/20 potential. The initial reports from some of the scouts, and I think Keith Law also mentioned this, is that his swing can get a little bit pull happy. And if you watch some of his hits from last season, they're on pitches that are on the outer part of the plate that he either kind of softly hits up the middle or hooks to left field. Now, he had some luck. He got some hits on some soft hit balls. But as you progress as a major league player, pitchers are going to exploit that, right? They're going to hammer you away and create that soft contact. So he's got to be able to let that ball travel in the zone and then just take his normal swing and drive that ball to right field. And he's going to find a lot of success at Yankee Stadium once he realizes that, you got very little room out there. He's going to pick up a couple of dingers if he can start shooting that ball over the auxiliary scoreboard in the gap. Look, I believe in Peraza. I think Volpe's probably a better all-around player, but it's clear to me that Peraza is the better shortstop. Now, would the Yankees consider trading Peraza? I think if they do trade Peraza, it means that they're going to re-sign Gleyber. I think it's more likely that they go ahead and trade Gleyber because Peraza's got more years of team control. All right, prediction number 5. I think the Yankees are going to have the best bullpen ERA in Major League Baseball. So far this spring, we've seen a number of guys re-emerge into the form that they've had in the past. And I'm not talking about stats. I'm talking about stuff. Clay Holmes looks like Clay Holmes. The sinker has been filthy. He's throwing it for strikes. If you remember when he got traded from the Pirates to the Yankees, it was like a light switch flipped, and he instantly became dominant. He maintained that dominance and even exceeded that dominance in the first half of last season. But then he had some back issues, and he just wasn't quite the same going down the stretch. More importantly, Mike King looks every bit the pitcher he was last season before he injured his elbow. He was leading American League relief pitchers in WAR when he got hurt. He's another guy. He can throw the nastiest sinker that you can imagine and just get you 3 routine ground balls with very little stress. I like this direction where the Yankees are going with a lot of guys who throw the sinking fastball, try and keep the ball in the park a little bit more. And Mike King's one of these guys who comes in the middle innings when it's maybe 5-5 and, gets you 2 or 3 innings of shutdown ball and lets the offense get ahead. And that's one of the reasons the Yankees got off to such a great start last season. And look, in every season there's going to be injuries. You just have to hope that the injuries aren't to vital parts of your team and that they're not long-term injuries. Last year, the bullpen was just decimated, and that really killed them in the Cleveland series. The Yankees were lucky to get out of that without losing that series, quite frankly. But you're not always going to be that lucky. The bullpen is going to be an enormous factor, as it is every season. But this year, I think the Yankees are set up in a big way. Loizaga looked like his former self at the very tail end of last season, and he's looked great so far this spring. Stuff is filthy. Also worth noting, Wandy Peralta's excellent, very underrated by Major League Baseball fans. And Ron Marinaccio was tremendous last season in middle relief. He's healthy again. He had a shin problem. Both Domingo Germán and Clark Schmidt are probably going to begin the season in the rotation, but I think either one of them would be effective out of the bullpen. We've already seen it from Clark Schmidt. He was effective during the regular season, not so much during the postseason because he struggled against lefties. But Domingo Germán, he's got great stuff. I've always felt like he would play up out of the bullpen. And he's a guy who traditionally pitches really well for about a half a season and then begins to tire out a little bit. So putting him in the bullpen might save some bullets. Prediction number 6. Luis Severino finishes top 3 in the Cy Young voting. Listen, Louis got off to kind of a tough start this spring, but I think around the second inning on Tuesday, he put it all together. He ended up having 9 strikeouts in that outing, and it seemed like early on in spring, the slider just wasn't breaking right. He might have been overthrowing it a little bit. The fastball was high, also indicating that he was overthrowing. I thought maybe he was compensating for an injury. I even questioned whether or not he was healthy on Twitter. We know he's hid injuries from the Yankees in the past, but he convinced me his last time out that he's healthy. 9 strikeouts, a lot for a spring training game, and he had punchies with all 3 of his pitches. Fastball was spotted much better. The slider was sharper. The changeup was very effective. That's one thing you've seen a lot under Matt Blake, is that the Yankees pitchers have taken enormous strides with their changeups. Everybody from Garrett Cole to Domingo Germán have improved their changeups. And we saw last year what a player is capable of, frankly, in the final year of their contract with Aaron Judge. One more chance at a big payday. Severino is in the same position. He's not going to get $300 million, but he's in a position where if he has himself a good season, he can get $100 to $150 million without breaking a sweat. And he knows that more than anybody. So expect a good year from Luis Severino. Do I think he's going to win the Cy Young? No. But I do think he could finish top 3. All right, prediction number 7. Aaron Judge going 70-plus big flies this year. And look, we all know that Aaron Judge hit 62 last year. We all know how amazing it was. And we've heard the countless commentators who've predicted that it's a once-in-a-lifetime achievement and that it's not going to happen again and that Aaron Judge won't get close. He might hit 40, they say. He might hit 35, they say. I'm going out there on a limb. He's been working with Paul Goldschmidt about becoming a better two-strike hitter. Last season, he struck out 175 times. If he can turn around 8 of those at-bats and flip them into home runs, he gets to 70. I'm confident with the work that he's put in this winter that he's not going to take a step back, that he's going to be pretty much on par with what he was last season, plus whatever improvements he makes with the tutelage of Paul Goldschmidt. I think he might be able to reduce his strikeout total by anywhere from 20 to 50. Does that mean he's going to hit an extra home run for every reduced strikeout? No, of course not. But if you reduce it by 50 strikeouts and you have 8 lucky swings, that's 70 home runs, folks. Do not count them out. One thing is for sure, it's going to be an enormous story all summer if he does get off to a hot start, because baseball wants somebody clean to break the Bonds record. They want that to happen. And right now, Aaron Judge has the best shot that anybody's ever had and maybe that anybody ever will have. When you factor in the pitch clock, the fact that pitchers are going to be working quicker, maybe not throwing quite as hard, maybe hanging a couple of more sliders, there's going to be more action on the bases in front of Judge with Volpe leading off possibly. There's a non-zero chance that Judge breaks the single-season home run record of 73. Not saying he's going to do it, but if you're going to make a prediction, be bold. I'm being bold. I think he's going to hit 70-plus home runs in 2023. All right, prediction number 8. The Yankees will win 100 games and get home field advantage for the postseason. Look, I don't know if they can beat the Astros in the postseason, but with Verlander gone, with Altuve coming back from a thumb injury, they might get off to a slow start. The Yankees are getting younger and adding some contact and speed to the lineup, and stranger things have happened. I think that the one big advantage the Yankees can give themselves is to get off to another great start like they had last year, but this time don't flush it down the toilet in the second half. I know they had some injuries, but the Yankees were on pace for about 115 wins for the first few months of the season, and then the second half, they turned into about a 500 club. This year, they have to take advantage of the schedule being a little bit weaker. Teams won't play their own divisions as much, meaning things will be a bit tougher for teams in the weaker divisions, like the Astros, who don't have to feast on the AL West as much. And things are going to be a little bit easier on teams like the Yankees, who play in a really tough division. They get to feast on the Rockies and the Reds and the Diamondbacks and the Pirates. I think they're going to get 100 wins. I think it's going to be a really fun season. But when it comes to playoff time, a great philosopher once said, "You can't predict baseball, Susan."
Hey everybody, if you've made it this far, we thank you. If you'd like to support NYY Recaps, please like and subscribe or pay a visit to our Shopify store for some great Yankees merch. Yes. If you're watching on YouTube, the link is in the description. But if you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, just visit NYYRecaps.shop. If you really want to support NYY Recaps and help keep the show going year after year, join up as a member. It's $5, and members get their names up in lights during each post-game show. We're also on all podcast platforms, Instagram, and Twitch this year. So give us a follow if you use any of those platforms. We're expanding, and we have you to thank for making this such a great community. We'll see you next time.
It is your destiny.
Case closed.
Ball game over.
Most impressive.